I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime, and this is Currents.
Catholics and healthcare reform. We'll tell you what's at stake.
A children's center in Brooklyn celebrates 40 years and gets in the Christmas spirit.
I trust the people that are here, and I know that they're going to take care of my son every day.
And you see them all around Brooklyn, but we'll show you one nativity scene that comes to life.
It takes on a special meaning for people. They're not just looking at a static picture.
Well, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Well, early this morning, the Senate overcame a possible filibuster and cleared the way for approval of its version of a health care reform bill.
There are still plenty of questions that need answering, including what the final bill will actually look like. The U.S. bishops have been emphasizing all along that federal funds should not be used to pay for abortions. They've also stressed the right of immigrants to have fair access to health care.
Well, the bishops aren't the only ones, though, who have those concerns. The Catholic Medical Association has also been getting the word out. And earlier on in the day, I had the chance to sit down and speak with the association's executive director, Dr. John Brahaney. Well, Dr. John Brahaney, thank you so much for being here today on Currents. We appreciate your time.
Well, it's great to be here. It's certainly an important occasion.
Well, of course, it is a very busy time as far as health care goes. The Senate trying to get a health care bill passed before breaking for Christmas. And we've got a very different bill now in the Senate than we did in the House. Can you kind of spell this out, maybe the differences between those bills? And is the Catholic Medical Association happy with either one of them?
You know, I think the short answer is we're not happy with either one of them. And I know Senator Reid just added hundreds of pages of a manager's amendment to the 2,000-page bill out there before. So they differ, and I think it would take too long to go through all the minute differences. Let me just tell you why we're not happy, and because there are commonalities to both bills. We face tremendous problems in healthcare financing in this country, which does lead to problems in healthcare delivery. The question is, how are we going to really effectively fix those problems? And what both bills share in common is the idea that we need to turn this whole matter over to the federal government and give the federal government the power to say, to mandate that everybody have insurance, to say what kind of services that insurance must cover, how much it will cost, what treatments ultimately will be paid for, how much doctors will be paid. The federal government will control everything, and they think that will fix all our problems, and we think it won't. In fact, it will create more. So the idea that the federal government is in control is our prime concern. But then two other huge issues are coverage for abortion. Sure. The Senate bill explicitly provides financial coverage of abortion with opportunities for opt-out, but it changes what we've had all along. The House bill, as we know, has the Stupak amendment attached to it, which is good. However, there are going to be determined efforts to strip that out. And in conscience protection, there is barely adequate protection in the House bill, only on the matter of abortion, and the Senate bill does not even have that protection. So those are our three big issues, and what we see is the Congress hurtling. It's almost like a roller coaster going down a hill to pass this stuff for no good reason, just to get it done as quickly as they can with fundamental flaws.
Sure. Now, what, in your view, needs to be done for Catholics to feel comfortable with a final bill before it goes to the president's desk?
Well, we do think the best thing to do would be to stop and go over all these issues more carefully. But, I mean, for Catholics, I think the two things that are a minimum that we would have to insist on is no federal funding of abortion, direct or indirect, by accounting gimmicks or anything else. We must get funding for abortion out. President Obama promised that he would get federal funding of abortion on the campaign trail, and he looks determined to deliver on that. And this would cause a huge increase in the number of abortions. So that's number one. And conscience protection, both for healthcare providers and for patients, so that we are not forced to to participate in or to subsidize things that violate our most fundamental beliefs. And that would certainly include abortion. That would certainly include assisted suicide, euthanasia, but also contraception, assisted reproductive technologies, you name it. Those two things, I would say conscience and abortion, are absolutely key. There are a lot of other things too.
Sure. Now, very quickly before we have to go here, kind of a two-parter. What's the Catholic Medical Association doing, and is there anything that our viewers can do to have an effect on the outcome of this legislation?
Well, the Catholic Medical Association has been trying to educate its own members and the public and issuing some direct appeals to Congress going back through the summer, trying to lay out both what we think is wrong and what we think is right. I think the most important thing that viewers can do is to write to their senators and congressmen. I think the most important message is to slow down and stop and do this right, and much more specifically to insist that abortion not be funded in any respect and that conscience rights be respected. I think they have to get those messages out there quickly and with a lot of intensity.
Sure. All right. Well, Dr. John Brahaney, the Executive Director of the Catholic Medical Association, thank you so much today for joining us, sir. We really appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Merry Christmas.
Thanks. You too.
Certainly been a contentious issue for the last several months and really for the last couple of decades.
Right. Really. I mean, you think back on it and you know, we were talking about the healthcare reform in the Clinton administration, and previous presidential administrations have really kind of made this a big issue, and it hasn't been able to be passed just yet. And they're still working on it now, today, and you know, I mean, they'll continue working on it right through the Christmas holiday, they say, and hopefully the Democrats want to get something passed before Christmas. Of course, there are those people who do have, as Dr. Brahaney just said, all of these objections to the current legislation because they have issues with it, and so they're going to try to stop it and say, hold on, let's take another look at this. And so it's very contentious.
They really want some tweaking, and I think that the end of the day is it good enough for the White House? I mean, I think that, you know, is it something that they're willing to settle for in whichever form it is and get something actually passed and done and over with before the year's end? Or are these other voices that want to continue to be heard going to have a significant impact enough to say, wait a minute, we want it done right, and we don't want it to just be done sort of, you know, so-so.
Right, yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Keep posted. Stay tuned on that issue, and also stay tuned. There's much more current straight ahead. When we return, we have the day's headlines.
Including 2 popes who are moving closer to sainthood.
And a local children's center shares some Christmas pageantry and celebrates its 40th anniversary.
We provide the best quality services we can to the children and to the parents and families that come to us.
Welcome back to Currents. I'm Francesca Maxime.
And I'm Matt McClure. Coming up in just a bit, it's alive! The nativity, that is.
But first, let's take a look at the day's headlines. Well, 2 popes are one step closer to sainthood. The Vatican declared Pope John Paul II and Pope Pius XII venerable over the weekend. In all, Pope Benedict issued decrees approving the canonization of 5 people and the beatification of 5 others. While the declaration making Pope John Paul venerable has been met with wide praise, Jewish groups are criticizing the Vatican for doing the same for Pius XII. Some groups have been critical of Pius for years because they say that he did not do enough to stop the Holocaust. World leaders wrapped up their 2-week gathering in Copenhagen over the weekend with a non-binding agreement on climate change. The UN climate chief called it an impressive accord, but admitted it is not legally binding. Meantime, 2 Catholic relief agencies are blasting the agreement, calling it a weak and morally reprehensible deal, which will spell disaster for millions of the world's poorest people. Caritas International, the International Group of Catholic Relief Agencies, and CIDSE, an alliance of Catholic development agencies, said leaders should have committed themselves to more binding obligations. Well, as the song says, there's no place like home for the holidays. Well, just a few days before Christmas, archaeologists in Israel say they have found the first house in Nazareth that can be dated back to the time of Jesus. Reports say the find could shine light on what the town was like when Jesus was growing up there. Archaeologists say this latest discovery, along with recently discovered tombs, suggests that Nazareth was an out-of-way town of about 50 houses.
Well, a new study shows terminally ill cancer patients who receive spiritual care close to the end of their lives are, for the most part, in a better state of being than those who do not receive such care. The study, conducted by the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, also showed that patients who relied on their religious beliefs to cope with illness received spiritual support near the end of their lives reduced the risk of receiving aggressive medical interventions at the end of life. Reports say researchers tracked cancer patients from 2002 to 2008 for the study. Well, a local children's center is celebrating 40 years of life. Catholic Charities Farragut Children's Center in Fort Greene provides care for low-income children and their families. They held a birthday celebration over the weekend, and our cameras were there.
Thank you all for being here.
We're here today to celebrate the 40th anniversary and to celebrate the season as well. It's a great opportunity with the children to really help them to see the different cultures and different traditions and religious beliefs. And it really reflects the diversity that we have here in the center and the community.
The preparation was fun because I was part of the preparation for everything, and to see how everything overall came out, it was wonderful. It was more than, yet they are adorable.
There was a tremendous need in this community for child care services, and through the years that need has continued. Today, more than ever, here in the city of New York, child care is so important. It's important for families who have to work or go to school, and it's important for children to get education at an early age so that it can prepare them for their later education in life as well.
When my child is here, I know that my child is safe. I know that my son is safe. I don't have to worry about what he's doing or is he going to be hurt or any of those things, because I trust the people that are here, and I know that they're going to take care of my son every day. So no, I don't worry, and it takes off a lot of pressure.
We know that the need is here in the community, and we want to continue to be able to be part of that, to provide the services that are going to help the families right here in Fort Greene in this neighborhood.
That's why I spend so much time here, because I want to be a part of their, early education and see everything that's going on and be a part of what's going on in their lives here.
The most important thing, I think, for us in Catholic Charities and for the staff here is that we provide the best quality services we can to the children and to the parents and families that come to us.
Oh, little reindeer had maracas.
That's so cool. That's the Farragut Children's Center in Fort Greene, Brooklyn.
Well, stay with us, so there's much more current straight ahead.
Just ahead, a conspiracy of a much nobler kind for the Advent season.
Well, welcome back. Have you finished all your Christmas shopping?
Well, for the most part. I actually went online this weekend and wrapped up most. I may have to buy like maybe one, maybe two little things, but for the most part, my Christmas shopping is taken care of.
Very good.
And hopefully, it'll arrive in Georgia before Christmas.
You're not taking them on the plane.
No. See, that's why I wanted to do it online so I could then have it delivered to my parents' house, so I wouldn't have to worry about taking it on the plane with me.
Thinking ahead, yeah. I did a little pre-shipping myself.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, it can be a challenge not to lose the real spirit of Christmas when you're battling the mob at the mall, though.
That's right, and a growing number of Christians are saying the place to find Christmas isn't really in the mall anyway, as we hear from CNN's Christine Roman.
For Ken and Joanne Hawkins and their 4 kids, the family that prays together shops together.
Christmas has always been very chaotic, a lot of shopping, a lot of wrapping and craziness, and then January would come around and it would be this whole letdown.
But that's changing this year. The Hawkins family has joined a growing Christian movement that calls itself the Advent Conspiracy, a conspiracy that boils down to this: conspire to give fewer, more thoughtful gifts and put the savings toward a good cause. The recession has made the message resonate. This clip promoting the true meaning of Christmas has gone viral. More than 1 million views on YouTube. Here in St. Louis, pastors gather for a briefing on how to join the Advent conspiracy and get a pep talk from professional baseball player and devotee Albert Pujols. More than 1,000 churches have signed on.
We're seeing a variety of different church types, mega churches, house churches, mainline established churches. It's crossing a variety of lines because we're remembering what we have in common, and that's the story of Jesus and this longing that each of us has to make a difference.
The Hawkins pastor is hoping his parishioners will think before they buy.
We're not saying, don't buy anything, but spend less, buy one less gift. Don't go into debt. Buy less, worship more.
The church has held seminars and make-your-own gift workshops, raised money through its annual bazaar. Sermons have focused on the movement's 4 tenets: worship fully, spend less, give more, love all. The Hawkins family is trying to do just that.
It's not about things and the commercialism of Christmas. Not saying that we're not going to get any gifts. Of course we're going to get gifts, but we're going to spend less. We're going to really look at how we spend our money.
Of course, devout Christians every year decry the commercialism of their holiday. The question is, does the Advent conspiracy still resonate once the recession is finally over?
That's a good point. But
it is a good point. It's a good question because we often focus on giving, and especially here in this environment and what we do, we've been very focused on that throughout the Advent season. But I guess the vast majority of people are involved in all the hustle and the bustle and the going and the coming and the gift buying and the buying the biggest and the best and the newest and all that. Whereas, of course, as she said, the goal of this is to get fewer, more thoughtful gifts, put some thought into it, maybe make something, and then give the money that you would otherwise spend on those big gifts to a good cause. So.
Right, yeah, or what I did last week, which was a friend of mine couldn't pay his heat, and so I paid for his heat for the month, or for whatever the back heat was. And instead of going and buying a bunch of presents for people, I figured that would be a good thing to do. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Not a particular cause per se. It is just
doing
that
good for somebody.
Own personal cause. So just less about what's exactly under the tree and more about what's in your heart.
Right.
I think.
Absolutely. It's a perfect message for this time of year, and hopefully it will continue.
Well, stay with us. We have much more current straight ahead. When we return, the nativity scene, as it may have actually looked. It's a living nativity.
We feel it's important for people to know what the true meaning of Christmas is.
Well, finally tonight, if you found yourself fighting the weather this weekend, and who didn't?
Right.
Imagine standing in that storm for about an hour or so, reliving Christmas the way it may have been experienced the very first time.
That was the story for a very hardy band of believers in Bensonhurst who took part in a living nativity complete with live animals. Now, the weather outside was frightful, but this display was truly delightful, and we bundled up and we headed out to New Utrecht Church to check it out.
Many churches have a creche, but they are statues. And I think the real commitment that people make from this church and the friends and neighbors of this church is that they want to appear in a live tableau in the middle of December, and it's a testimony of their faith that they want to do this.
Hi. We actually start the day before. We have to start getting the fence ready and pulling the fence away from storage and putting it into the trailer, and then we get the animals ready a few hours prior to leaving. To me, it's just so realistic. When you see the live animals and go into a nativity scene, it kind of gives you chills. So I have kept the animals, and I usually keep them all year just to help out a few of the churches with them. And I just think it's great what they do.
It takes on a special meaning for people. They're not just looking at a static picture, and they realize that people are standing there and showing that as part of their faith. We ask that they just stand very, very still. And that's very hard to stand very still for a half hour at a time or an hour at a time.
It is a little chilly out here, but at least the worst of the snow hasn't come yet. It's fun, and it's a great message to bring out to the community, and I enjoy helping my church.
I've been doing this for about the last 6 years. I usually play a shepherd. Once I played Mary, and nicer weather, we usually get a lot more people stopping to see it. So I'm just going to have a hot cup of cocoa, and I will be back on duty.
It's not every day that you get to represent something that tells the story of Christianity. Mary is an integral part of the Christmas story, and it's my honor to represent her in this production.
This is real people and real animals, and that means it's different. And the children, I notice, get quite a reaction when they see the animals, and we allow them to come in and they pet them.
This is our first year. We actually live in a neighborhood, but it's our first year we actually got to see it. We wanted to show the girls the live animals and the nativity, just so they have a good spiritual background and they know, the true meaning of Christmas.
This is a very important mission witness that we do for the community of Bensonhurst. So much of Christmas has been commercialized that we feel it's important for people to know what the true meaning of Christmas is. And this is our gift to them.
How great is that?
That's so cool. And with all the kids coming out to see it there, even in the snow, it was a great time had by all. And definitely, something that you need to get wrapped up for in that kind of weather. And they had on the layers. They're like their down coats under, and then they had like the Snuggie or whatever over that, and then another blanket, and then another blanket. So they were wrapped up out there. So I imagine they were feeling the chill, but it could have been worse.
What it evokes for me is really just the vigilance that that they had at the time, and then obviously over the weekend when they're doing this living nativity, but to stand watch, and to be present and to protect and to share that community and that life, and to bring the gifts and to really just celebrate and behold baby Jesus.
Right. It wasn't an easy journey for the original nativity to happen either, and with the chilly temperatures and the weather not being quite as friendly as it was, it really does. It's really that as well. And having live animals is cool too.
I love the live animals. You know me and animals. I'm a sucker for that.
Well, me too. And I've seen live nativities before, but I've never seen done with live animals.
The combo of the petting zoo.
I know. It's really cool.
It's great.
Fun for the kids and educational as well.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this edition of Currents. Now, coming up tomorrow, a dangerous threat to your children that might be as close as their cell phone. We'll tell you what you can do about it. But in the meantime, stay with Net for our special Primetime is Christmas Time slate of holiday programming. Tonight at 8, it's Sacred Arias with Andrea Bocelli. Tune in and you'll find out how you can become a member of Net and continue to support this kind of quality programming all year long.
Has such an amazing voice. And remember, you can always catch us online at currentsny.net as well. So until next time, thank you so much for watching. I'm Francesca Maxime.
And I'm Matt McClure. Have a great night.
I guess we'll still have pieces and promo things, right?